Hey, welcome back to Confessions of a Doctorholic. I'm Dr. Slayman, or Hafsa, and today's episode is about something that really stuck with me. Not because it was a rare diagnosis or a flashy procedure, but because it reminded me of the kind of doctor I want to be and the kind I never want to become. Let's talk about a patient who refused everything, like literally everything, and how one conversation changed all of it. So I was on this rotation at one of our community hospitals, and we had this patient who had been in and out of the hospital multiple times with the same issue, gastric volvulus. Basically, her stomach had twisted on itself, causing an obstruction. Nothing was moving through. She couldn't eat. She was miserable. Now, this should have been a relatively simple GI case. She'd had an EGD before, which is a minimally invasive scope that looks down into the stomach and sometimes fixes things on the spot. But the twist? She was at very high clot risk and was on anticoagulation. Surgery wasn't ideal, and the gastroenterologist didn't want to do the scope either because of the bleeding risk. So we were all kind of stuck for weeks. We went back and forth between teams, surgery, GI, cardiology, anesthesiology, and finally, one of the GI attendings agreed to do the scope. Everyone was cautiously optimistic. And then she refused, just flat out refused. She was angry, frustrated, felt like she was being pushed around. And honestly, it seemed that way. I got it. My senior was ready to give up, and honestly, I didn't blame him. But something in me was like, let me try one more time. So I went to her room, sat down. I appeared unbusy, and I said something like, "You're angry, you're frustrated, and honestly, if I were in your shoes, I would be too." That stopped her. She looked at me, like really looked at me, and started to open up. She felt validated. At that time, one of the GI APPs joined me. The patient continues. She said every team had told her something different, that no one wanted to operate, that she didn't want a temporary fix, she wanted a real solution. And I told her, we're not giving up on you. We just want to take the safest path first. We're still in this with you. She's an architect, so I used a construction analogy. Think of GI and surgery like architect and engineer. We're not on opposite sides, we're collaborating. We're designing the safest structure for you. And then I went on and explained the procedure. I told her, we're going to scope you because that's a minimal risk compared to full-on surgery. And it is the fix that we would have done with surgery anyway. We'll put a tube in, and tubes aren't great, but it'll fix your stomach to the top. Hopefully that'll prevent it from twisting again, and you can at least have liquids apart from being NPO forever. And finally, she agreed. Guys, I'm not even kidding when I say that was one of my favorite moments of my entire residency so far. The GI PA that rocked up there gave me a fist bump, told me I was amazing. My senior literally walked in right in the end, and I didn't even notice. And he was like, I owe you a cookie. And I walked out of that room feeling like an actual hero. Not because I saved a life, but because I saw someone. I heard her. And it made all the difference. After that, she refused to speak to anyone except myself. And the GI PA? She shouted out to me in front of everyone, in front of all the attendings. She was like, that surgery resident was absolutely phenomenal and the patient is finally on board. She got the procedure. They placed a PEG tube with a bumper, which tacked her stomach to the abdominal wall, preventing future twisting. It wasn't heroic surgery. It wasn't glamorous, but it was the right thing. And she finally got it because we slowed down and listened. And honestly, that's when I knew. I never, ever want to become jaded. I don't want to be the resident who's just done with patients who are difficult or emotional. I still want to care. I still want to connect, even when it's frustrating, especially then. So that's my confession for today. I still believe in talking to patients like people, even if they've refused a dozen times, even if it's exhausting. Sometimes that one extra try is the one that changes everything. Thanks for listening to Confessions of a Doctorholic. If you've had a moment like this, a patient who finally came around, or a time you broke through with emotional empathy, I want to hear it. Come find me on the gram, on @HafsaSlayman. DM me, comment on the episode. Let's talk about how we stay human in medicine.